Advent, this season that we enter this morning, is a season of preparation and anticipation. Preparation for the coming of the Christ child into our hearts and lives once again. An anticipation of the beauty and the joy of Christmas Eve. Each of the gospel writers deal with the anticipation and preparation in different ways. Hear these words from the Gospel according to St. Matthew, beginning the 24th verse, 24th chapter, 36th verse. I'll get it out. But about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, or the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That's how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding at the handmill, one will be taken, the other left. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this: if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you may not expect him. The theme for today, and it began very early in worship with the choir's introit, is the theme of hope. It's the banner that hangs in the chancel. It's the candle that the Starkey family lit for us this morning on the Advent wreath. Story is told, I might have told this here before, might have told my Sunday school class any, of a woman in New York City who died, leaving a rather peculiar will and a rather sizable estate. In her will, she bequeathed everything she had to God. Now, the attorneys set about the business of settling that estate by carrying out all of the legal requirements. They began by filing a case naming God as the party of the first part. The court, in turn, wrote out a legal summons issued to God and proceeded to act as if it could be served. Predictably, when the news media found out about the will, they played it for all it was worth. Everyone involved had a few laughs over the entire thing, and after completing all the necessary legal steps, a final report was given to the court, which read in part, "After due and diligent search, it is our determination that God simply cannot be found in New York City." I'm sure there are people living in New York City today who think that God still can't be found in New York City. And for those of us who read the Alliance Review every morning, the jury's still out on whether God can easily be found even here. From the biblical record, we know it was difficult to find God in Bethlehem and in Jerusalem 2,000 plus years ago, especially for those who didn't have the foggiest idea of where to look. In a thought-provoking painting by Bruegel entitled "The Census," the artist captures the registration ordered by imperial decree of Emperor Augustus about which Luke speaks in the second chapter of his gospel narration. The painting shows a huge crowd of people in line waiting to register at the registration desk. Now, a cursory glance at this painting shows busy shops and lots of active people shopping and talking and laughing and arguing, all the things people do in a crowd. A first impression of the painting is that it's just a crowd of people until one looks in the lower right-hand corner and sees a man pulling a donkey on a rope. The donkey bears a young and very expectant woman. The two people are obviously Joseph and Mary. If you've ever seen the painting, it becomes clear how easy it would be to miss Joseph and Mary in this huge gathering of people. One has to look very closely to see them because their presence seems so insignificant in relation to what's going on all around them. They get lost in the shuffle of the crowd. For many folks, Joseph and Mary still get lost in the unbelievably busy and confusing seasons of Advent and Christmas. Some folks never see Joseph and Mary or even Jesus in the whirlwind activities of this month. Or they'll celebrate Christmas. They'll have a Christmas tree, decorations on the lawn out in front of their houses. Visions of sugar plums will dance in their heads, and the stockings will be hung by the chimney with care, with a chock full of goodies on December 25th. They'll get caught up in the piranha-like frenzy of shopping and Christmas parties and cooking and baking and candy making and carol singing and all the wrappings of the season, but they'll never see Joseph and Mary and Jesus. They'll miss the point entirely. In the summer of 1972, I was appointed by Bishop Francis Kearns to my first church following seminary in the little village of Centerburg, Ohio, the geographical center of the state. Village of maybe 1,000 people if everybody stayed home. On the second Sunday of July, I met the choir director for the first time. After the customary pleasantries, she announced to me, "I want you to know, Pastor Martin, that the choir of the Centerburg United Methodist Church never sings on Christmas Eve." Imagine that, Lou. Where is he? Okay. Apart from thinking that that was a rather odd conversation to have on the 9th of July when the temperature outside was 92 degrees, I played along by asking him, "Why is that?" To which she responded confidently, "Because my family has their family Christmas dinner on Christmas Eve, so I cannot be here." Recovering from the shock of her reasoning, I said, "Well, I guess you have a choice to make." "What's that?" she asked inquisitively. "It's simple," I responded. "The chancel choir at Centerburg United Methodist Church will sing on Christmas Eve this year. The choice you have to make is whether or not you're going to direct." All 18 members of the chancel choir, with radiant smiles on their faces, shared 3 anthems at the Christmas Eve service that year under the leadership of their new director. In spite of everything that draws us to the meaning and significance of this holy season, some folks miss it all, year after year. The rather confusing lesson from Matthew's gospel that is our text can be summarized in 2 words: be ready. The crowds that flooded the streets and markets and inns of Bethlehem, all in town for the census ordered by imperial decree, knew the ancient prophecies that said the long-awaited Messiah would be born in Bethlehem of Judea. But most folks residing in Bethlehem on the night Christ was born missed the entire event. Only a handful of rough and rugged shepherds out in the fields, protecting their sheep from wolves and robbers, were privileged to hear the good news of great joy. Think of that. And having heard, they wandered into the village, found the stable behind the inn, and fell on their knees before the manger in which God was born to very human parents, hand-selected by the creator of the universe for the task. Matthew cries from the pages of his gospel, "Be ready. Be ready." Advent is a time of preparation, a time of expectation and excitement as we prepare our homes, our church, and our hearts for the celebration of God's incarnation and birth. But if we're not careful, if our hearts are not in the right place, if we're looking for our Christmas peace, comfort, and cheer out in the world, then we'll miss Christmas just as sure as night follows day. Why? Because Christmas belongs to the church. It can only be celebrated authentically in the church by those willing to fall to their knees before a child in a manger. All the glitz and glitter and glamour of Madison Avenue, Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, and Walmart notwithstanding, in the final analysis, Christmas belongs to the church. It's here where the celebration has meaning. It's here where the hope associated with the celebration of the birth of Christ into our hearts and lives once again becomes real and finds room to dwell with us forever. We sang it a few minutes ago. Come, thou long-expected Jesus, born to set your people free. From our fears and sins release us. Let us find our rest in thee. Born thy people to deliver, born a child, and yet a king. Born to reign in us forever. Now thy gracious kingdom bring. Be ready, dear friends. Make room for hope in your hearts. Make room for hope in your hearts, and you will know the unparalleled joy of the will sing the glorious alleluias with the angels. Amen.